The Sunday brunch crowd at Riverside Terrace filled the restaurant with the pleasant murmur of weekend conversations and clinking silverware. Our family occupied the corner booth, the same one we'd claimed for years, positioned to catch the morning sunlight streaming through floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the water. Mom was radiant, her silver hair swept into an elegant updo, wearing the pearl necklace Dad had given her for their 30th anniversary. At 62, she carried herself with the confidence of someone who'd spent 37 years as a senior vice president at Morrison Financial, commanding boardrooms and managing multi-million-dollar portfolios. "I've finalized the details," she said, pulling a leather portfolio from her handbag. "The retirement party will be Saturday, November 18th. That gives us 3 weeks to ensure everything is perfect." My brother Derek leaned forward with interest. He was 36, 4 years older than me, and had inherited Mom's commanding presence along with her position at Morrison Financial when she'd recommended him as her successor. "What's the venue?" he asked. Mom's smile widened. "Oakmont Country Club, naturally. The grand ballroom with terrace access. Sunset timing so guests can enjoy cocktails outside before dinner." "Perfect choice," my sister Victoria said. She was 34, positioned between Derek and me in age, and worked as a corporate attorney. "Oakmont has such prestige. Everyone who matters in this city has attended events there." "Exactly," Mom agreed. "I've worked too hard for too long to celebrate this milestone anywhere less than extraordinary. James and I spoke yesterday. He's already blocking the date." I continued scrolling through my tablet, not looking up. The membership management software showed Oakmont's event calendar clearly. November 18th was indeed blocked, but the reservation was marked pending owner approval in red text. Dad raised his coffee cup in a toast. "To Catherine Henderson, retiring after 37 years of excellence. You've earned every bit of celebration coming your way." "Hear, hear," Derek and Victoria chorused. I lifted my orange juice glass silently, meeting Dad's eyes briefly. He'd always been the quieter parent, an architect who'd built a successful firm but never sought the spotlight. Mom occupied so naturally. He gave me a small questioning look that I didn't acknowledge. "The guest list is extensive," Mom continued, opening her portfolio to reveal printed spreadsheets. 500 invitations going out tomorrow. Current and former colleagues from Morrison, industry contacts, friends from our social circle, extended family, the board members from my charitable foundations. 500 people. Dad's eyebrows rose. "Catherine, that's appropriate," she said firmly. "I've built relationships across 4 decades. This party isn't just about me retiring, it's about honoring the network I've cultivated, the mentorships I've provided, the legacy I'm leaving behind." Victoria was already pulling out her phone. "I'll coordinate the invitation mailing. We should use the cream cardstock with embossed lettering, very traditional." "Already ordered," Mom said. 250 invitations, each including a +1 option. Engraved with the Henderson family invites you to celebrate Catherine Henderson's retirement and listing Oakmont Country Club as the location. "Wait," Derek said. "You ordered invitations before finalizing the venue contract." "The venue is finalized," Mom said. "Oakmont has been our family's club for 40 years. My father was a founding member when they opened in 1985. I've attended hundreds of events there. There's no question about availability." I set down my tablet, finally speaking. "Did you sign a venue contract?" Mom looked at me as if noticing my presence for the first time. "Olivia, sweetheart, this doesn't require a formal contract. It's a family membership venue. James understands the arrangement." "James Patterson, the general manager?" I asked. "Yes, I've known James for 15 years. He managed my 60th birthday party there, my retirement announcement dinner, countless charity galas I've chaired. He knows exactly what I expect." "And what are you expecting?" I asked carefully. Mom's expression suggested I was asking obvious questions. "Full use of the grand ballroom, capacity 500. Premium catering package, past hors d'oeuvres during cocktail hour, 4-course plated dinner, open premium bar throughout. Live orchestra, not a DJ. Full floral arrangements, custom lighting design, valet parking for all guests." Derek let out a low whistle. "That's going to run, what, 70,000? 80, charged to the family membership account." Mom said smoothly. We've maintained platinum level membership at Oakmont since Father's time. The fee structure includes event hosting privileges. I picked up my tablet again, pulling up Oakmont's current membership agreement. The document was 73 pages long, and I'd reviewed every word of it multiple times over the past 6 years. Mom, I said quietly, platinum membership includes venue rental discounts, not complimentary event hosting. For a 500-person event with the package you're describing, the cost would be approximately $95,000. She waved her hand dismissively. James and I will work out the details. The Henderson name carries weight at Oakmont. We're not typical members, we're legacy family. Legacy family status doesn't exempt anyone from event fees, I said. Victoria turned to me with barely concealed irritation. Olivia, Mom has been a member of Oakmont since before you were born. I think she understands how the club operates better than someone who works in. She paused, searching for the words, hospitality management. The term landed exactly as Victoria intended it, dismissive, vaguely condescending. For the past 6 years, my family had understood my career as working in hospitality management. A deliberately vague description I'd never corrected. They assumed I managed hotel operations or coordinated events for wedding venues, something service-oriented and unremarkable. Speaking of which, Derek said, turning his attention to me with the forced interest people use when including someone out of obligation. How is work going? Still doing the events thing? Something like that, I said. Olivia, you really should leverage Mom's connections. Victoria said. I'm sure she could introduce you to people at the premier event venues in the city. Get you positioned somewhere with actual prestige instead of. She trailed off, the implication clear. I'm content with my current position, I said. Mom patted my hand, the gesture simultaneously affectionate and pitying. Sweetheart, there's nothing wrong with finding your own path, even if it's more modest than what Derek and Victoria have achieved. Not everyone is cut out for high-pressure careers. I took a sip of my orange juice, saying nothing. Dad was watching me with that same questioning expression, the one that suggested he suspected there was more to my situation than I'd shared. But he'd learned years ago not to push when I went quiet. Back to the party, Mom said, redirecting the conversation with the skill of someone who'd run corporate meetings for decades. I've arranged for the invitations to specify black tie optional. I want elegance, but I don't want to make people uncomfortable if they don't own formal wear. Very considerate, Victoria approved. The catering menu will feature Morrison Financial's corporate colors, navy and gold, in the presentation details. Subtle but a nice touch for the colleagues attending. Derek was making notes on his phone. I'll reach out to the board members personally, make sure they know this is a significant event. It'll be good relationship maintenance for me as your successor. Excellent thinking, Mom said. My tablet chimed with an incoming message. I glanced at the screen. James Patterson requesting immediate call. Urgent Ray November event. I excused myself from the table, walking toward the restaurant's outdoor patio area, where I could take the call privately. The autumn air was crisp, carrying the scent of fallen leaves and distant wood smoke. James, I answered. Miss Henderson. His voice was tight with barely controlled panic. I just received a call from Catherine Henderson, confirming details for a 500-person retirement party on November 18th. She's under the impression that this event is approved and that costs will be charged to a family membership account. I'm aware, I said. I'm having brunch with her right now. She's sent venue specifications to our catering director. She's provided our events team with a guest count and menu requirements. She's told our staff that this is a confirmed booking. But it's not confirmed, I said. No ma'am, it absolutely is not. Under club policy, any event exceeding 50 guests requires written owner approval and a 50% deposit 30 days in advance. Mrs. Henderson has provided neither. I watched through the restaurant windows as Mom gestured enthusiastically, showing Derek and Victoria something in her portfolio. They were all smiling, animated, planning a party that didn't officially exist. James, I need you to come to Riverside Terrace. We're in the corner booth. Come now and bring the standard event contract and cost breakdown for the party she's described. Miss Henderson, are you certain? I could handle this through private channels. Spare your family the public clarification, I finished. No, this has gone too far. If she's sending invitations tomorrow, we need to address this immediately. Understood. I'll be there in 12 minutes. I ended the call and returned to the table. Mom was showing Victoria floral arrangement options on her iPad, debating between cascading orchids and classic rose centerpieces. The orchids are more dramatic, Victoria said. But roses are timeless, Mom countered. I want elegance, not flash. Why not both? Derek suggested. Orchids for the head table, roses for guest tables. Brilliant, Mom said, making a note. I slid back into my seat. Dad was watching me again, his architect's eye noting details others missed. Everything all right? He asked quietly. Fine, I said. Just work. On a Sunday, hospitality doesn't stop for weekends, I said, using the explanation they'd accepted for years. The next 10 minutes passed with continued party planning. Mom debated orchestra versus string quartet, discussed whether to include a photo booth, considered custom cocktails named after significant moments in her career. Then James Patterson entered the restaurant. He was 58, distinguished in the way career hospitality professionals often are, impeccably dressed in a charcoal suit, his silver hair perfectly trimmed, his bearing radiating quiet authority. He'd managed Oakmont Country Club for 17 years, transforming it from a respectable local venue into one of the region's most prestigious private clubs. He spotted our table immediately and approached with measured steps, carrying a leather portfolio that matched the professional elegance of his appearance. Excuse me, he said politely. I'm looking for the Henderson family. Mom looked up, her face brightening with recognition. James, how wonderful. I didn't expect to see you today. Have you received all the party specifications? I have, Mrs. Henderson, he said carefully. That's actually why I'm here. We need to discuss the event details. Of course, Mom said. Please join us. This is my husband Robert, you know Derek and Victoria, and this is my youngest daughter Olivia. James's eyes landed on me, and his expression shifted into something more formal. Miss Henderson, he said, and the respectful weight he placed on my title made Derek's eyebrows rise slightly. Thank you for asking me to come. I appreciate your promptness, I said. Mom looked confused. Olivia asked you to come. Yes, ma'am, James said. He turned back to Mom. Mrs. Henderson, there seems to be some confusion about the November 18th event. I have the specifications you've provided. 500 guests, grand ballroom, premium catering, full bar, live orchestra, custom florals. Is this accurate? Exactly right, Mom confirmed. I wanted everything documented properly. I understand, James said. However, there's a procedural issue. Events of this scale require specific approval and contractual agreements that haven't been completed. James, we've known each other for 15 years, Mom said, her tone taking on the authoritative edge she used in business negotiations. Surely we can handle this with a phone call and a handshake rather than bureaucratic paperwork. Unfortunately, ma'am, club policy is very specific. No event over 50 guests can proceed without a signed contract and a 50% deposit. I'm a platinum member, Mom said. Legacy family. My father was a founding member. I'm aware of your membership history, James said carefully. However, membership level doesn't bypass event contracting requirements. Victoria leaned forward. What's the deposit we're talking about? James opened his portfolio, extracting a detailed cost breakdown. For the event as specified, the total cost would be $97,500. The required deposit would be $48,750, due 30 days before the event. The table went silent. That's absurd, Mom said flatly. I've attended dozens of events at Oakmont. I've never heard of anyone paying nearly $100,000 for a party. Most member events are smaller in scale, James explained. For comparison, a 100-person event with standard catering runs approximately $25,000. The cost scales significantly with guest count, premium services, and custom arrangements. Derek was studying the breakdown. This seems excessive. Are these normal rates? Standard rates for Oakmont's premium event packages, James confirmed. The 500-person capacity, 4-course plated dinner, Premium bar, live orchestra, custom lighting and floral design. These are luxury tier services. But we're family members, Mom insisted. There must be a family rate, a legacy discount, something. Platinum membership provides a 15% discount on event costs, James said. That discount is already reflected in these numbers. Without the membership discount, the total cost would be $114,700. Victoria was scrolling through something on her phone, her attorney's mind already working. Mom, when did you last actually host a large event at Oakmont? My 60th birthday was there 3 years ago, Mom said. How many guests? 80. And Dad paid for that directly, didn't he? I remember him mentioning the cost. Dad nodded slowly. $28,000. I wrote the check. So you've never actually hosted a 500-person event at Oakmont, Victoria said. You've assumed costs would scale linearly, but they don't. Mom's face was reddening, embarrassment mixing with indignation. James, there must be some arrangement we can make. I've been a loyal member for decades. I've brought countless guests to the club, referred new members, chaired charitable events in Oakmont's ballrooms, all of which is deeply appreciated, James said. However, I don't have authority to waive event fees or modify standard contracts. Those decisions would need to come from the club's owner. Then let me speak with the owner, Mom said. I'm sure once I explain the situation, we can reach an understanding. The owner is already aware of the situation, James said. He turned to me. Miss Henderson, would you like to explain, or shall I? Every head at the table swiveled toward me. Mom blinked. Olivia, what does she have to do with this? Miss Olivia Henderson owns Oakmont Country Club, James said clearly. She has owned it for 6 years. I've served as general manager under her ownership during that entire period. The silence that followed was absolute. Derek recovered first. That's impossible. Grandpa founded Oakmont. It's been family property for 40 years. Grandpa Samuel was a founding member and initial investor, I said quietly. He sold his ownership stake to me in 2019, 6 months before he died. You bought a country club. Victoria's voice was faint with disbelief. You work in hospitality management. I own and operate 7 hospitality properties, I said. Oakmont Country Club, the Riverside Terrace, where we're currently having brunch, 2 boutique hotels downtown, and 3 event venues across the city. My portfolio is valued at approximately $63 million. Mom's face had gone pale. That's not possible. You drive a Toyota. You live in that small condo. You've never indicated. I live modestly because I reinvest profits into acquiring and maintaining properties, I said. The condo costs me $1,400 a month and meets my needs. The Toyota is reliable and paid off. I don't require luxury in my personal life to build wealth in my professional life. Dad was the only one who didn't look shocked. His expression had shifted to something like recognition, pieces falling into place. Samuel taught you, he said. Those weekends you spent with him during college, the summers you worked at Oakmont as a server and event coordinator, he was training you. Yes, I said. Grandpa knew he was dying. He wanted his legacy to go to someone who understood the hospitality industry from the ground up, who'd worked every position from dishwasher to event manager, who respected the business rather than just the prestige. So he sold it to you instead of keeping it in the family. Mom's voice shook. He sold it to me because I am family, I said. And because he knew I'd preserve what he built. He'd watched Derek and Victoria build careers in finance and law. He'd watched you, Mom, excel in corporate investment. None of you had any interest in hospitality management. But I did. You never told us, Victoria said. Grandpa and I agreed it was better that way, I said. He knew that the moment family understood I controlled significant assets, everything would change. Every financial discussion would involve expectations that I should fund or facilitate or provide. He wanted me to build without that pressure. James had been standing quietly, but now he cleared his throat. Miss Henderson, regarding the November event, what would you like me to communicate to Mrs. Henderson about proceeding? I looked at Mom, who was still processing, her carefully constructed plans dissolving in front of her. The same thing you'd communicate to any member, I said. If she wants to host a 500-person retirement party at Oakmont, she can sign the standard event contract and provide the required deposit. She'll receive the platinum member discount. All service will be exactly as specified, at a cost of $97,500, Derek said flatly. Yes. And if she can't afford that? Victoria asked. Then she should consider scaling the event to match her budget, I said. A 200-person event would cost approximately $43,000, a 100-person event around $25,000. James can provide detailed breakdowns for any guest count she prefers. Mom found her voice. You're going to charge me full price? Your own mother? I'm going to charge you the same rate I charge every platinum member, I said. The same rate I charged you 3 years ago for your 60th birthday party, which you didn't question because Dad paid the bill and you didn't know I owned the venue. That's different, Mom said. That was before I knew, before we understood, before you understood that I owned the property, I finished. And now that you know, you expect what? A free venue, complimentary services that cost the club thousands of dollars in staff time, catering costs, and operational expenses. Family shouldn't charge family, Derek said. Family shouldn't assume family will subsidize their lifestyle choices, I countered. If you wanted to host your wedding at Oakmont, Derek, would you expect me to provide the venue for free? When Victoria joined a corporate law firm last year and needed event space for her client entertainment, did she ask me for complimentary access to my properties? Victoria had the grace to look uncomfortable. I didn't know you owned those venues. Exactly, I said. You didn't know, so you paid market rate. You booked through proper channels, signed contracts, and nobody questioned whether you deserved special treatment. The only thing that's changed is information. The properties haven't changed. The costs haven't changed. Just your awareness. Dad was reading through James's cost breakdown, his architect's eye-catching details. Catherine, look at these numbers honestly. 500 guests is excessive. You don't have 500 close relationships who need to attend your retirement party. I have a professional network. Mom started. That you're trying to impress, Dad said gently. This isn't about celebrating your career, it's about making a statement, throwing an event that demonstrates your success and status. And that's fine, but that's also not something you should expect your daughter to subsidize. I built that network over 37 years, Mom said, but her voice had lost its certainty. And it's an impressive achievement, I said. But hosting 500 people in a premium venue at a cost of nearly $100,000 isn't celebrating your network. It's performing for them. Who are you actually retiring for? The colleagues you worked with, or the people you want to prove something to? The question hung in the air. Victoria was doing calculations on her phone. Mom, if you invited just the people who genuinely matter, your actual friends, close colleagues, family, how many would that be? Mom didn't answer immediately. 100, Victoria pressed. Maybe 150. Probably, Mom admitted quietly. Then host a party for 150 people, I said. At Oakmont if you want. James can provide a beautiful event for that guest count at a fraction of the cost. Or choose one of my other venues. The Riverside Estate would be perfect for a 200-person garden party. I'll give you the platinum member rate wherever you choose. But the invitations, Mom said weakly. I ordered 250, already engraved with Oakmont as the location. So you'll lose the deposit on invitations, Derek said. That's what, $1,500? Better than proceeding with an event that costs $100,000 when you could do something more intimate for a quarter of that. Mom looked at me. Really looked at me, perhaps for the first time in years. When did you become this person? I've been this person for 6 years, I said. You've just been seeing the version you expected to see. The modest daughter with the unremarkable career, someone to pity rather than someone who chose a different definition of success. I never pitied you. Mom protested. You've spent the last 6 years suggesting I leverage your connections to improve my position, I said. You've implied my career choice was modest compared to Derek and Victoria's paths. You've treated my work like a placeholder until I found something more impressive. Because you never told me, Mom said. and now there were tears in her eyes. If you'd just told me what you were building, what would you have done? I asked, genuinely, Mom. If I'd told you at 26 that I was buying Oakmont Country Club from Grandpa, what would your response have been? She opened her mouth, then closed it. You would have had opinions, I said softly, about how I should run it, who I should hire, what events I should host. You would have wanted input on decisions because you'd spent decades in corporate leadership and assumed you knew better. You would have introduced me to your network, not as an equal but as your daughter who needed guidance. I would have been proud, Mom whispered. You would have been proud of what I'd inherited, I said. Not what I built afterward. Grandpa understood that. He gave me the foundation, but everything else, the additional properties, the expanded portfolio, the business model that made Oakmont profitable instead of just prestigious. That's what I created. And I created it without anyone's opinion about what I should do with family legacy. James shifted his weight slightly. Miss Henderson, I should return to the club. Shall I prepare a revised event proposal for Mrs. Henderson's consideration? Yes, I said. Provide options for 100, 150, and 200 guests. Include several venue choices from my properties, not just Oakmont. Different price points and atmospheres, so she can choose what actually feels right for her, not just what looks impressive. Understood, James said. He turned to Mom. Mrs. Henderson, I'll have those proposals to you by tomorrow afternoon. You can schedule a consultation at your convenience to discuss details. Thank you, James, Mom said quietly. After he left, silence settled over our table. Other brunchers were carefully pretending they hadn't overheard the conversation, though I suspected we'd provided entertainment for half the restaurant. I need to ask something, Derek said finally. If you own this restaurant, are you paying for brunch right now, or are we paying you? Despite everything, I smiled. The restaurant pays me rent. I pay for brunch like any other customer. They're separate transactions. But you could eat here for free, Victoria said. I could, I agreed. But then I'd be the owner who takes without paying, and my staff would resent it. Better to pay market rate and tip generously. It maintains clear boundaries. Dad was still studying the venue cost breakdown. Olivia, can I ask, what did Oakmont cost you 6 years ago? Grandpa sold it to me for $12 million, I said. Significant family discount. Market value was around $18 million at the time. I took a commercial loan for the portion I couldn't cover with my initial capital. Paid it off in 4 years through strategic event booking and membership growth. And now it's worth, he asked. Last appraisal valued it at $32 million, I said. The hospitality market has grown significantly, and I've made improvements that increased both prestige and profitability. So you've built, Derek stopped calculating. You've more than doubled your initial investment in 6 years, while expanding to 6 additional properties. Yes. Mom was very quiet now, her retirement party planning forgotten. She looked smaller somehow, less certain. I'm sorry, she said finally. For assuming, for dismissing your career, for not seeing what you were actually doing. I know, I said. Can we? She stopped, then started again. Can we start over? Not with the party, with everything. With actually seeing you. We can try, I said. But it requires honesty from both sides. No more assumption, no expectations that family means free services or special treatment. If we're going to have business relationships alongside our family relationship, we need clear boundaries. Agreed, Dad said firmly. He looked at Derek and Victoria. Both of you understand that. They nodded. Good, I said. Then let's talk about what kind of retirement party would actually make you happy, Mom. Not what would impress people or make a statement. What would genuinely celebrate this milestone in a way that feels meaningful to you? Mom took a shaky breath. I think maybe something smaller, more intimate. The people who actually matter, not just the people I want to impress. That sounds perfect, I said. At Oakmont, she asked hesitantly. I've always loved the terrace garden in autumn. The terrace garden is beautiful for smaller events, I said. James can set up something elegant there. Or if you want something different, the Riverside estate has gardens that are spectacular in November. Could I see both before deciding? Of course, I'll arrange tours for any venues you're interested in. You'll book them properly, sign contracts, pay deposits. Like a real client, Mom finished. Like a real client who happens to be my mother, I amended. You'll get excellent service, fair pricing, and my personal attention to make sure everything is perfect. But yes, we'll handle it professionally. She nodded, wiping at her eyes with her napkin. When did you become so wise? I learned from Grandpa, I said. He taught me that sustainable success comes from systems, not shortcuts. That respect is earned through excellence, not demanded through status. That the best legacy isn't what you inherit, it's what you build with what you're given. Dad reached across the table and squeezed my hand. He chose well. He did, I agreed. The rest of brunch was quieter, the conversation subdued as everyone processed revelations and recalibrations. Derek and Victoria asked careful questions about my properties and business model, approaching me now as someone whose expertise they respected rather than dismissed. Mom scrolled through photos of my venues on her phone, seeing them with new eyes. When the check came, I placed my credit card in the folder without comment. Nobody protested. As we prepared to leave, Mom pulled me aside. The invitations I ordered, she said. The ones listing Oakmont and 500 guests. Should I cancel them? Cancel them, I said gently. Design new ones that reflect what you actually want. Take your time. November 18th is still 3 weeks away. Plenty of time to plan something meaningful instead of something impressive. I'm proud of you, she said. I should have said that first, before anything else. I'm so proud of what you've built. Thank you, I said. That means more than you know. She hugged me then, and I let myself relax into it, a genuine embrace without performance or expectation behind it. Outside the restaurant, as we walked toward our cars in the parking lot, Derek fell into step beside me. For what it's worth, he said, I always suspected you were doing something more than you let on. The way you talked about work, too confident, too knowledgeable, I just couldn't figure out what. Would you have wanted to know? I asked. He considered that honestly. Probably not. I would have felt competitive, maybe. Like I needed to prove something. Better that I didn't know until I was secure enough in my own success to appreciate yours. That's remarkably self-aware, I said. I learned from watching Mom today, he said. Sometimes what we don't know protects us from our worst instincts. In my car driving back toward my modest condo in my reliable Toyota, I thought about Grandpa Samuel. About the trust he'd placed in me when he sold me Oakmont. About the wisdom of building, quietly, growing carefully, succeeding without announcement. My phone chimed with a text from James. Event proposals ready for review before sending to Mrs. Henderson. Also the Riverside Investor Group confirmed Tuesday's meeting. I typed back, perfect, send the proposals, see you Tuesday. The real estate empire I'd built wasn't flashy, it existed in well-maintained properties, satisfied members, successful events that people remembered fondly. It grew through reinvestment and strategic acquisition, not through broadcasting success or demanding recognition. But maybe it was time to let family see it, not because I needed their approval or validation, but because hiding had served its purpose. I'd built something sustainable, something that could withstand scrutiny and survive expectations. And maybe eventually, we'd figure out how to be a family that saw each other clearly, not the versions we expected or assumed, but the people we actually were. My phone rang. Mom, Olivia. Her voice was tentative. I'm looking at the Riverside Estate photos James sent. The autumn garden photos. They're absolutely beautiful. They are, I agreed. Could I tour it this week? Before deciding, of course, I'll meet you there Wednesday at 2 if that works. Perfect, she said. And Olivia, thank you for being patient with me today. You're welcome, Mom. After we hung up, I smiled. It was a beginning.